Brian Kelly sat down, did an interview with some local media out there in Baton Rouge. Really, really good conversation. But he had a 1.5 to 2 minute clip addressing how LSU has attacked the portal and utilized NIL. And I think it raised a lot of eyebrows. It was music to my ears personally. He brought some bars, but don't take my word for it. Listen to what Brian Kelly has to say here when asked about how LSU is using NIL in the portal.
The D-line, interior D lineman, where are you right now with that?
Well, I think I made it pretty clear in a number of the press conferences that I had that we were in the market in recruiting in the transfer portal looking for defensive linemen. It hasn't fared very well, quite frankly, because, we're selling something a little bit differently, and that is we want to recruit. We want to engage, build relationships. We want to develop, retain, and have success. We're not in the market of buying players, and unfortunately, right now, that's what some guys are looking for. They want to be bought. And look, I understand NIL is part of this, and we have an incredible collective. We have very, very generous opportunities around the greater Baton Rouge area for NIL opportunities. So they are here, but we're not going to go out and buy players. That's not what this is about. This was never about that. We will develop you. We will get you ready for the next step, as we did with Jaden Daniels, as we did with Malik Neighbors, as we did with Brian Thomas. We developed 3 defensive linemen that all got drafted this year, and we'll do that again. But if you're just looking to get paid, you're looking in the wrong place. If you like all the things that we do here in developing our players, bringing you into a championship program, playing in front of the best fan base in America, playing for championships, and having an opportunity for NIL, you should be a Tiger. But if you just want to get paid, this is not the place for you.
We are not in the market of buying players, says Brian Kelly. And I think the first response from the naysayers and punchline culture, they saw this clip and they said, oh, you know what? LSU's broke. They must not have money to go out and get the talent they want to get. And to that, I would just say, does that really make sense to us? Like, do we really think a school in the SEC with the engagement from a fan base that is LSU, we really think they're hurting for cash? I personally don't see that. What I see is Brian Kelly just being transparent about their approach. And he was honest. He's like, listen, we missed on some guys. Like, we wanted to acquire a defensive lineman in the transfer portal. That didn't happen. Now, it didn't happen because we weren't willing to go out and drop a bag to get a player to sign on the dotted line with us. And I think, honestly, what we said at the top of this live show is what I want us to bring home here. You attract what you allow. And Brian Kelly is saying we don't want to just drop a bag and get someone to sign on the dotted line. We want to engage, develop, prepare for the next step, which is the NFL. We want to have real relationships. Like, we want to be able to have the entire person and player aspect of bringing someone to LSU covered when they come and play here. We don't want them to come here just for some zeros. And I would say that's exactly the way that you should go about it if I were running my own program out there in college football. Now, granted, Brian Kelly has forgotten more than I could ever know about college football. Let's make sure we're clear about that. But I think when you look at the future of NIL and the future of talent acquisition, I think what Brian Kelly is saying and what Brian Kelly is doing is the sustainable model. Because if money is your motivating factor, that's great. It might allow you to land a couple more transfers, but is that really what you want the end-all, be-all to be for your football team? Because again, if money is the motivating factor, if it's all about the zeros, well, then your satisfaction comes when you get that NIL check. Satisfaction doesn't come when you win that New Year's Six Bowl game or you make the college football playoff or you win the SEC. Those things are all nice, but again, if that wasn't your driving factor, well, then how much are you really putting into the team? How much are you really putting in when nobody's asking you to come to a workout or asking you to go 110% at practice? Those things add up. Those things detract from your culture. And we've seen this now multiple times over the course of the playoff era and even in the early sample size of the NIL era. Culture ultimately still wins. Like, you got to have talent. That's a prerequisite to get in the door. But if you have talent and no culture, forget about it. Maybe you're an 8-win football team at that point. So for LSU now going forward, They are clearly looking to attract players that are prioritizing the main thing, which is football. And I think the thing that I love so much, where I was really like, yeah, Brian Kelly, get him, when he was really dropping some bars, in my opinion, is when he was saying this isn't just like some sales pitch of, hey, we're going to make sure you take a discount to come here, and if you come here eventually, maybe you'll be able to make some money at some point and get drafted. He's like, no, if you come here, there is proof of concept that we are going to develop you and get you to the league to make some real money. Three first-round draft picks this past season. 3 linemen on the defensive side of the football drafted this past season. We're not just selling you this vision. Like, this actually happens if you come to LSU. So if you want to go somewhere else and get a bag on the front end, and then, you know, what happens with the development happens, more power to you. But we will develop you and get you to the league here at LSU. And so guys that are football-minded, guys that want to win football games, guys that want to play in the NFL and achieve their potential, they're going to hear Brian Kelly say something like that, understand that there's still a multitude of NIL opportunities in Baton Rouge, and they'll sign up for that, and Brian Kelly and LSU are still going to win a whole lot of football games. Again, this is the sustainable model. Because when you talk about money being your motivating factor, going back to that point here, how much money is enough money? How much money is enough to say, you know what, I'm good? Now, you might have a number in your head if you're a player when you sign and say, that's what I want to sign for. Okay, great. What happens when you have a good season? What happens when your role expands? You want more money. Heck, what happens when just that number gets old to you? There's a point in time where money is no longer satisfactory. You need more money. And if there's more money that's being demanded by the player, that's not a problem that you want to deal with in your locker room, period. So all in all, Brian Kelly, he brought the juice. I love that he came out and said this. I don't think that he is just saying this to like cover up the fact they didn't get the defensive lineman they wanted in this transfer portal cycle. I think he was keeping it a buck, and I think that's truly how they operate in Baton Rouge. They're not saying they don't play the NIL game. They're not saying we're not still going to pay you. They're not saying you can't still earn all the money that you want to and create value for yourself here. But if money is your motivating factor, that's not the game that we're playing. You can get paid, but if you want to get paid, you better make sure that you're playing football, and that's the main thing for you here first. That's going to be the winning formula. I truly believe that. Over time, people are going to see the number of draft picks that Brian Kelly has at LSU. They're going to see the success that he has at LSU, and that's going to be what they sign up for. Not the zeros, not the NIL dollars. It's going to be the fact that you can go and help yourself win a lot of football games and become an NFL prospect. They proved that. I just loved it. He brought the bars. He said, Brian Thomas, Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors. He's like, those guys, they all came to LSU. We developed them, helped them take that next step. So hat tip to Brian Kelly for keeping it an absolute buck. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.